This is our one and only chance to say something cool at the beginning of this series.
Well, that's too bad.
Anyway,
here's Misericorde Volume 2.
Hello everyone. I hope you've all been well. I know we are eagerly awaiting our time back at Linbarrow. This came out a few months ago, and I'm going to call it poor scheduling on my part. We never got to it, but we have diligently not looked up anything about Volume 2.
And we went and rewatched our own original playthrough to make our theories and so on.
Yeah, and we did make sure to, if you haven't seen it yet, we did go back and do a discussion episode on Volume 1. Because, it was worth it, and just to make sure that we were fully immersed and prepared for Volume 2 here. I don't know, anything cool you want to say before we start this? This is the
only game that's ever made me go out and purchase books of Catholic theology
that
I might get the plot better.
That is true. How is Hildegard treating you?
Pretty good, aside from the fact that I can't find a good copy of that one that is an ebook. And the physical book is in our storage unit because my room with the bookshelf flooded, so I can't actually read Hildegard of Bingen at the moment.
I can just go. It'll take an afternoon. I can go get that out of storage for you.
Yeah, but that's like a million years, effectively.
Hey, did you know this is a story set in a monastery of the 1400s?
Oh, shit. Oh, hello.
Oh, well, hiya. Are you excited? Ready to read about some truly miserable people?
Yeah.
I am as eager as you are, but there are a couple of important orders of business to attend to. And thank you, Miss Person that showed up and was, when we were seeing CGs of things that hadn't happened, right? First of all, Misericorde Volume 2, White Wool and Snow, is a story for grown-ups. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but a reminder of what to expect is always nice, yeah? Might have been a while since you last checked in on Linbarrow. Would you like a quick recap of what's happened to poor Hedwig so far? I think we're good.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Part of me is I do want to click it just to see what happens. Actually, no. We're going to click it to see what happens. Fair enough. It's a bit confusing, isn't it? All those names. And it's all in black and white, too. Anyway, in Volume 1, we met a pathetic little anchoress whose sole joy in life was verbally sparring with a mysterious woman she couldn't see. This woman was Sister Catherine. She was murdered, and her body was arranged in a rather gruesome fashion. A man named James, who made the deliveries to the Abbey, was found hiding not long after the body was discovered and was summarily blamed. This explanation seems to have satisfied most of the sisters, but not the Mother Superior. Hedwig was recruited as a spy of sorts, and forcibly yanked out of her cell to try and find Catherine's, with a C, real killer. Naturally, this had been rather mentally taxing for the poor woman. She's had an awful time acclimating. Hard to blame her, really. Hedwig seems to have more faith and piety in her left pinky than the rest of these women combined. Let's run through all of them very quickly. This is Sister Catherine with a K. She's a bit of a diva and very witty. She became a nun after being accused of murdering her husband. It's better than facing execution. Catherine has a bit of a black cloud hanging over her with those rumors, and Hedwig found out she'd been boinking James. She even visited him in the Hospitalum dungeon at least once. A bit odd, certainly. Actually, I'm glad we're doing this because it's very interesting what details the recap finds salient.
Yeah.
And what details we in our discussion found salient. So, there's a lot of overlap, but there's it's just interesting to check against it, right?
Yep.
She is very good friends with Sister Margaret. They're incorrigible pranksters and gossips, too. On her own, Sister Margaret has treated Hedwig with kindness, although she is a bit evasive. She's also a talented musician. Seems she was rather close with Catherine and seems to know a lot about the nooks and crannies of the Abbey.
She's a bit evasive. Good to know what sorts of character she'll be when the fighting game comes out.
Misericorde fighting game would go hard. I would call Margaret a straight shooter, at least on serious matters. But she absolutely has some secrets. Why did she start crying when everyone smashed the cacks of sherry at Catherine's makeshift wake? I have to remind myself to keep doing the C and K stuff. It's going to be hard, but I'll get back into it. Anyway, if she had felt spurned by Catherine with a C's odd behavior, She certainly would have been able to hide it, or able to do it. Would she, though? Hard to say at this point. Sister Charity and Sister Marta next. Charity here found Catherine with a C's body that fateful morning. She claims to have alerted the superior right away. She is very sweet. A bit cheeky, a bit matronly. Hedwig noticed her taking command of the sisters when Flora went missing. We also, on Charity, because I mentioned Hedwig noticed her taking command, we had pointed out that it kind of seemed like she was perhaps a bit of, like, kind of, not ringleader, but she definitely was taking a leadership position. Like, she seemed to be the one who had the list of who was and wasn't coming to the Misericorde each night.
Yep.
Right? Like, it seems she has a lot of soft power here. Marta, on the other hand, is a bit more reserved. She can be kind, but she has a real mean streak and isn't afraid to speak her mind. She even struck poor Flora for disobeying her, and she doesn't have too much kind to say about Catherine with a C. Then again, she doesn't have much kind to say about anyone when she's in a bad mood. Just ask Sister Adela. Feels responsible in a roundabout way. She didn't half go on a tear about Catherine with a C's behavior to Hedwig. Did Adela just not get a portrait?
I mean, maybe it's time for Adela later.
Okay. Next, there's Darcy and Eustace. Darcy is a sweetie. Hedwig was very impressed with her myriad talents and her connection to God. She has visions. Eustace likes to watch and write down what Darcy says. It's hard to tell whether Darcy is lying about things or just a bit out of it when she gets things wrong. She once told Hedwig they didn't take care of goats at Linbarrow, but Moira mentioned that Darcy took care of the goats herself.
It comes up here.
Can we really blame Darcy for misspeaking? Who even knows what's in those tinctures she drinks? Eustace is a different story altogether. She dressed up as a ghost to scare Hedwig that one time. She caught on to Hedwig's investigation quite early, and has been trying to warn her to keep her nose out. Eustace is also, and I am so sorry to say this, she is a world-class know-it-all and impossible to deal with. It's honestly difficult to gauge whether or not she's being suspicious or just plain weird. Sister Adela hails from Iberia and seems very friendly. She loves chess. Well, she seems to love competition of any sort, actually. Warfare and strategy are topics of interest that might raise a few eyebrows. How'd she get so good at swordplay? You know, weirdly, I hadn't thought to question it. I legitimately hadn't thought to question why does she know good at chess? Why is she good at swordplay? I was just like, oh, cool, that's one of her talents. She's a nun. She probably has a lot of time to work on things. It hadn't occurred to me, maybe that's weird.
Yeah, generally not a thing that you go around getting
right?
skillful at when you are in a cloister.
I blame
my
anime filter for that.
Yeah, you just assume everybody has a weapon specialty.
I just like, if someone studied the blade, I'm like, okay, cool, that checks out.
It's like, and what's their limit break?
She must have been very enthusiastic back when Catherine with a C was attempting to train her sisters up as swordsmen. Darcy mentioned that, I think. Having a sip of my seltzer. Adela was brought to Linbarrow
That's not invented yet.
I actually am curious what it was. Adela was brought to Linbarrow to oversee production of sherry, something Catherine with a C was involved with as well. There's no obvious motive for her to have killed her friend thus far, but you never know. She certainly has the skills to have made it happen. Sister Angela! Now here's a woman who knows what she wants. She's the prioress, and she wasted no time reminding Hedwig of the authority she wields over her. Anja is very clearly driven, very opinionated, and very cold. She's seemingly pushed everyone else away. She seems convinced that James killed Catherine with a C, but has demanded that Hedwig run her investigation through her. Angela called this a pact. But why does she care so much? Seems to have a bone to pick with the superior. Well, she has a bone to pick with everyone, but particularly her boss. Oh, and she carries a nasty-looking dagger around. I was going to mention that if our friend didn't, so good on you. She has a tight alibi, though. The night of Catherine with a C's death, she and the superior were arguing into the wee hours about policy around the Abbey. Definitely a reasonable thing that they definitely did. She's mean, but it seems unlikely that she did it. Sister Moira. Oh, she's quite lovely, isn't she? She and Hedwig seem to have hit it off right away. Moira immediately confided in Hedwig that she feels uneasy about Catherine with the C's death. More specifically, she finds it hard to keep a lid on her grief. and finds the speed with which the rest of the sisters moved on difficult to abide. Hedwig accidentally knocked over a bottle of her ink while snooping around in her room. Luckily, a cat took the blame. Moira's proud of her Irish roots, which she shares with Catherine with a C. Good God, I am tongue-twisting myself today. She also seems to have had an admirer, as she has flaunted several fancy gifts. The worst you could say about her is that she is too nice, which I believe we had also pointed out ourselves.
Yep.
Yep. But hey, it's always the one you least suspect, right? Then again, maybe that's a bit too pat. Ah, Sister Flora, poor thing. Last time we saw her, she had passed out in Hedwig's arms after leaving her leg crushed by a giant door. A mysterious monster had been chasing her through the halls at night. But what was she like before then? Kind of irritating, really. A rude young woman who never knew when to shut up. She was terrible at making friends. Hedwig even agreed to give her art lessons, but Flora upset her with her acerbic behavior. We heard a shocking story from Marta about Catherine with a C, locking Flora in a chest, nearly suffocating her. Still, though, she seemed very loyal to Catherine with a C. Her death greatly affected her, clearly. Is that because she's grieving the loss of a dear friend, or could she be dealing with the guilt of retaliation? Right then, I think that'll do. I think the powers that be already showed you some content warnings. Suffice to say, it is a bit bloody and gory here and there. Plus, there's a few tits. Maybe even some bush. I forget. It's all very tasteful, I promise. Oh, and because there is an option for it, I did turn off the censorship option because we are pre-recording this Let's Play, right?
But we will. If we need to, will.
Yeah, and if we need to, we will insert. We will insert stuff to get by YouTube. I have heard that the censorship is worth looking at on its own because the way it's done is worth seeing.
Is it?
According to people, but as has been the tradition with other games we've played on this channel that do show some content we can't show on YouTube, we will take it into our own hands to put some goat heads.
Can it be turned on and off mid playthrough?
It was in the options menu, so maybe.
Because I want to know what this is. If folks are saying,
yeah, sure.
We'll need to know.
First, here I'll tell you what. First time we see a stray tit, we'll take a look.
Fair enough.
All right.
We got a deal.
It's all very tasteful, I promise. So, if you're playing this in polite company, or perhaps streaming it to your friends on some god-forsaken web platform, spare yourself an awkward moment and toggle the censorship on, yeah?
No.
Censor images of nudity and violence. Hell no. Perv alert. Only teasing. Like I said, it's all very tasteful and very award-winning prestige television program.
Oh, then turn the censorship on. Geez.
Mostly. You can change this at any time in the preferences menu if you change your mind. Oh, and do keep in mind that this setting does not cross between devices. Make sure it's set to your desired choice when swapping. With that said, enjoy.
So hyped for more nuns having fun.
So hyped for more nuns having funs.
So, 1776.
What about 1776?
I'm answering your question from earlier.
Oh!
When seltzer was invented. By Joseph Priestley, who you may have heard of.
So you're saying, based on the timeline, that seltzer is the reason that America exists?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, understood.
Although, the Swiss are the reason that soda as an industry exists.
And without them, I wouldn't have Dr. Pepper.
The Schweppes ginger ale, they were the first one, although it wasn't ginger ale then, it was just soda water.
Well, I will forgive the Swiss for that one then.
Yeah.
Ah, hello there. You're just in time. I am prepared at last to share more with you. It's going to take me a moment to get back into Hedwig because she was kind of like this when she was in her present in the story, but
yeah,
in her telling of it, in her narration, she's a bit more confident.
You're good at this.
I don't know that I am. I have one trick and I do it.
I can't do that.
But first, I must share something important. Something that will, I think, help color the story you are about to hear. I am not a real person. This is not a complaint. It is scarcely even a problem. It's simply a fact about me, no different from the color of my hair. I am not a real person. Certainly others can hear me, the way one might hear the voice of a normal person. You can hear me now, naturally. I suppose I am visible as well, or at least I was when I roamed freely outside of this cell. But I cannot be heard in any meaningful way, or seen in any sense that matters. My words do not carry any sort of staying power, nor can I be seen in a way that changes the shape of the world. I am not a landmark in people's lives. Instead, I rank myself some lesser being, closer to a cat or an insect, perhaps, than a member of mankind. I lack whatever it takes to make real connections with other people. It took me a while to learn this. I cannot remember exactly when the realization started forming. It might well have been when I hit my head, catching Flora. For a long time, this knowledge made me ache, and now it brings me some measure of peace. The charge that I was given by the superior certainly did not help, but I dare say that I would have felt this way had I been born a princess, or a soldier, or a king. A person needs a whole soul, and mine could at best be described as damaged. I do not linger in anyone's thoughts the way that someone matters to them might. I am not sought out. I cross no minds, and am carried in no hearts. I take up space, but I am not really here. Perhaps I have never truly been anywhere. I am not a real person. Do you find my outlook gloomy? I suppose it does sound rather grim, but it is useful. If I had any shame left or any reputation to uphold, I might not be able to tell you the rest of this story. I have thought carefully about how to present all of this to you. I realized whilst we were apart that I could probably just skip straight to the end. Summarize my life outside the cell in a sentence or two. But you wouldn't want that, would you? I should hope not. Because the experience of sharing this all with you is perhaps the closest I have come to feeling like a whole, real person in my entire life. I should like to savor that feeling. And finally, I feel that I must empathize. Finally, I feel that I must emphasize that this is a story built out of memories. Details like cardinal directions, the time of day it was at any given moment. As each day goes by, my certainty of any of these things slips away just a little. And I was supposed to be a chronicler. I am glad that I get to tell you this all now, while there is a chance it still forms some kind of shape. Now then. I believe that when we parted last, I was flat on my back, staring up into dark rain clouds.
Also known as Tuesday.
Calling it Hedwig is a disembodied computer program set to remember a fictional set of accounts from a monastery. 1400s brain uploading. Who's with me? Who's with me?
Hedwig is a brain in a vat theory.
I have no time to waste, I remember thinking to myself. The rain was pounding against my face so hard that it was difficult to keep my eyes open. I had to fight to resist the retreating behind my eyelids once more. I heaved Flora's limp form above me and rose to my feet, carefully draping her over my shoulder. Her legs dangled freely and pressed into my stomach. As I took some steps forward, I could feel something sharp jutting out of her thigh.
Bleh.
Ooh. I tried my best not to think about it, but images of gore began swirling in my mind. I suppressed the rising sickness in my throat by telling myself that a protruding leg was preferable to whatever state of mauling from that ghastly creature would have left Flora in. It was so dark out here. Had I not been carrying Flora, I felt like I could have reached out and touched a rain cloud. In fact, the fog was so dense and the rain was so violent that I wondered if I was walking right through one. I suppose I should have been thankful for the weather, because the reflections lining the corners and edges of the walls ahead outlined the way forward. Nonetheless, the stone was slick. My shoes were not up to the task. I carefully carried Flora forward in a direction that I assumed, prayed, would lead us around the outer wall to some stairs. And I was right. It was not that long ago that I had struggled with a flight of stairs in front of Catherine with a K. I smiled grimly as I tested the top step with my wet shoe. If only she could have seen me now. You also need this reminder, miss. I was going to run downstairs in the middle of night after it had just been raining.
It would have been fine.
If you had slipped and fallen, then it would have been really... One thing I've noticed about a relationship is that you are the one who will run downstairs, and I'm the one who will be like, careful! Oh, I am no fun. Carefully.
Somebody's got to stop me from running with scissors.
Carefully. One step at a time. 2 feet on each step before moving to the next. That was the only way to keep Flora steady. Man, Hedwig's carrying Flora?
Hedwig's buff now.
Hedwig's buff now.
I mean,
It's not impossible. It's not like it's not like it's unbelievable. It just it would take more certainty and strength than I would have assumed she had, having been locked away for most of her life.
Maybe she's been doing 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every morning.
Shit, you're right.
You don't know what she's doing.
That's all you need. I wondered what her leg looked like under all that cloth. By what thread of flesh it was still attached. I tried to put this grisly thought out of my mind. It was rather difficult when I could still feel Flora's shoes knock against me in rhythm with every stair that I descended. One after the other. One immediate, one worryingly late. Over and over. At the rate I was moving, the staircase might as well have gone on forever. It was so dark that I began to wonder if I was descending at all. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the path ahead briefly. I was so startled that I almost slipped. The gravel of the eastern courtyard was comforting at the very least, but I did not feel relief for long. Another sheet of lightning revealed that I was not alone. The monster was back. Oh, hi, friend. It did not notice me at first, I think. It stood gazing upward into the clouds for a moment before its gaze, if it could be labeled as such, slowly turned to me. Interesting. It's got kind of the horizontal slit iris, right?
Yeah.
Definitely looks like a goat. A few wisps of smoke drifted outward from its gnarled face. I could still barely make it out in the darkness, but the moonlight rendered it in enough detail to scare me into inaction. It was truly hideous, and it moved unnaturally. I could hear it wheezing as it stood in place. I felt as if it were eyeing me up and down, although I could not be sure that there was anything at all in its bony eye sockets. If I had any doubts left, the smell made it clear that the beast was really there. The stench was overpowering. This must be what hell smells like, I thought. This is flesh, seared by eternal life, animated and standing upright in front of me. weighing whether to drag me along with it back down to where we both belonged. I realized my fingernails were digging into Flora's skin. I dared not budge. Just looking at this unearthly demon took more willpower than I had available. It was like staring into a dark sun. We stood there for I don't know how long. I do know that I moved first. I took one cautious step backward. It felt just as leaden, just as impossible as that first step I had taken over the threshold between my cell and the outside world. At least this time I was leaving something terrible behind. The monster did not react. I took another step back, and another. Darkness slipped over the creature's face, and I wheeled around to run away. Flora's twisted leg kicked into my thigh all the way back to the cloister. By the time I made it to the superior's office, I was worried that I was too late. Running away meant that I had to travel back around to the western courtyard near the garden, and back into the cloister from there. I slammed my fist against the superior's door as best I could, with Flora draped over my shoulders. Mother Superior! The door finally jerked open, and I was met by a furious face.
What is the meaning of this? Do you have any idea how late... My God, what happened to Flora?
She was attacked! I found her in the hallway near my cell.
Attacked?
She ushered us in and shut the door behind us.
Attacked by who?
By what? Is the question I should think.
You mean to tell me an animal did this?
I set Flora down gently on the floor. She groaned as her shattered leg touched the ground.
I can feel it now.
It wasn't an animal. It was a monster.
Come now. It's true. I was wandering the halls when it leapt out at me. You're delirious.
She's telling the truth. I saw it. Well, Flora was telling some sort of truth. Wandering the halls was not quite right, but now was not the time to quibble. It chased us outside, although that big door upstairs is what injured her. The superior rubbed her face and groaned.
I've been meaning to get that bloody thing fixed. I will not believe a monster chased you there, however.
Monster, ghost, devil. Call it whatever you like, but something was there.
Catherine and her cohorts used to love dressing up to give visitors a fright. Surely it was just someone in disguise. Lord knows nobody listens to me when I tell them no pranks, no hazing.
I've seen Eustace's pranks, and this was no practical joke. It was taller than any of the women here. It had the head of a goat, too.
The head of a goat.
Flora groaned again.
We need to deal with this first. Stay with her, make sure she stays awake. I will go and fetch Moira.
The superior exited the room swiftly. I reached out to grasp one of Flora's hands. She was cold and clammy. I risked a peek down at her leg and inhaled sharply when I saw that her robe was glistening. It was soaked in blood.
In the shadows.
What?
Don't tell the superior.
Don't tell her what? What do you mean in the shadows?
I know it can't be one of you lot. I was so far away from the dorms when it happened.
My old cell. Tell me exactly what happened.
There's nothing else to tell. That thing lives in the dark. Darcy always talked about hauntings, but I never believed her.
You are very verbose for someone whose leg is in...
But then, I saw it lurking outside the superior's window.
That window.
The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I gripped her slimy hand a little harder as I tensed up. I dared not turn around to look at the window behind me.
But even then, I couldn't be sure. I thought it could have been anything, a trick of the light. But now I know for sure. This place is haunted. That thing lives in the shadows, and I've seen it.
What on earth do you mean? And what am I not supposed to tell the superior?
Please don't tell her. You can't tell her that I saw.
You saw? The superior returned with Moira in tow.
Oh no.
That's a Moira face.
Hedwig found her wandering the halls. Unfortunately, it sounds like that god-forsaken upstairs door slammed shut on her leg. No. What a nightmare.
Moira crouched down to examine Flora's leg. She lifted the young woman's black robe carefully and inhaled through her teeth whatever she saw.
You poor thing.
She stood back up and looked at the superior gravely.
I'm going to need to make a splint and a crutch as soon as possible. By all means. What do you need? Wood, twine. I assume we don't have any existing metal splints or leg plates, do we? None that I am aware of. We are not known for our smithing.
Leg plates? Like from a suit of armor?
Indeed. I can make a splint out of wood, but it might not set the bone just right. If there's anything that would fit to the contour of the leg better and actually compress things, that would be better.
We should wake Eustace. There's a suit of armor in the library storage room.
Good thinking, Hedwig. Oh, you are clever. The more closely I can set the bone, the better chance we have of avoiding amputation.
Flora wailed from the floor.
I don't want to lose my leg. I'll do everything I can. And look on the bright side, it wouldn't be your whole leg. Just about half or so. Which half? The bottom half. Suppose that was a stupid question.
Laura loses the upper half of her leg and is just like Rayman now.
It's just Rayman. Hey, you know what? It is just keeping around the bottom half of her leg. Hey, it works fine, right?
Try not to stress about it. Who's stressed?
It would have been very funny if things weren't quite so horrible.
You've done enough here tonight, Hedwig. You can head back to bed.
But...
I insist. Moira, stay here with Flora while I collect Eustace and get that leg plate for you. Hedwig, walk with me. I'll escort you back to the dormitory.
She stormed out of the room so quickly I had no time to object, and I followed after her.
A ghost, Hedwig?
Superior,
A sister was attacked right in front of you, and you didn't think to unmask the assailant.
That isn't fair! If you had seen it...
A ghost did not just attack you. A ghost did not kill Catherine.
Okay, maybe not, but something otherworldly most certainly did just attack Flora and I. I don't see how the two events have to be related. The superior wheeled around on me at the top of the stairs and spoke in a harsh, raspy whisper.
Of course they're related. Of course, whoever attacked Flora is the same person who killed Catherine. Who else would it be? Why else would it happen?
I don't know.
Just how superstitious are you? Dare I ask it, but how stupid are you? You saw no monster. The darkness addled your mind, not to mention this darkness. It's a wonder you saw anything at all.
We stood there on the stairs for a moment. I had nothing to say. There were tears welling in my eyes that I wished I could hide.
I am sorry, I should not have said you were being stupid. But it is clear that all of this is being done to undermine my authority. All of this is because I have been too lax, too forgiving with all of them. Of course, someone would be attacked while the bishop is here. Somebody is trying to hurt me. Punish me. And the only people who would care to do that would be those under my charge.
Huh. Really quick. I knew that this was a thing that the superior had going on, that she was, very not self-centered, but very focused on bringing everything back to herself, and everything must come back to herself. And I don't know. It seems like she's jumping to a whole lot of conclusions right now.
Sure does. Like, that is an explanation, but it is by no means the only explanation.
And again, she's not self-centered. She sees Flora in pain and works immediately to do whatever's necessary to help her, right? But she is taking whatever events must happen and assuming that they must fall back into the narrative she's already assumed must be true.
Yep.
So...
Someone dissatisfied for whatever reason with my leadership.
That could be anyone. That had been a mistake. The superior slowly drew herself up to her full height and glowered at me.
Speak.
I just mean that over the course of my time here, I think I've heard every sister express some sort of discontent with you.
Really now?
Surely it just comes with the territory. I think you've said as much before.
Any specific grievances?
None leap to mind. Just general dissatisfaction. Grousing. All I meant was, if that's a thread you want me to follow in my investigation, it might not narrow things down.
What have you narrowed down? Catherine behaves suspiciously. Angela thinks she could do a better job than me. If it weren't for the fact that I know she didn't kill Catherine, too, I would suspect her, but go on. What else have you pieced together? Have you been doing your job, or have you just been killing time? Well... The bishop is already here. I had hoped to stall him long enough to give you enough time to complete your inquisition, but now...
She sighed and turned away.
I don't know what to do.
Something was bothering her deeply. I wished I knew what, but I hazarded a guess. Have you been into the cellars tonight?
No. Why?
I was just wondering if it had been tidied to your liking. Since there was, that party down there the other night.
And you were part of it?
Yes. I thought it would be a good opportunity to gather information.
Of course you did, Hedwig.
She turned away and continued up the stairs.
Come along then, no time to waste.
I scurried behind her as we entered the dorms to wake Eustace. The superior rapped her knuckle on the door next to mine. Okay, so Eustace is next to... Did we know that?
I don't know.
I feel like I had... Oh, hold on. Where's my current... Oh, shoot. I have my notebook somewhere here. And it had a diagram of who was in which room. Never mind. I'm going to find it later. I have too many notebooks full of notes from games we've played. This is a problem I have. The superior rapped her knuckle on the door next to mine. There was no answer. She knocked again, looking irritated. There was the sound of hinges creaking, but it was not the door we were standing in front of. The door to Darcy's room, closest to the fireplace, had opened. Are you looking for me?
Yes. Are we interrupting a late night chat?
It's no trouble. What's wrong? She had shot me a shrewd expression.
Sister Flora has injured her leg.
You found her?
Indeed.
Well, that's good news. She looked straight at me once more.
Yes, it is, although I will be happier after someone tells me what actually happened.
All right, well, what did you need me for? She's She's hurt her leg. Quite badly.
Moira's the surgeon.
Moira is attending to the wound as we speak, but she needs a brace for the bone.
I'm still not...
She walked toward us briskly, pushing between us to enter her room. After a moment, she reemerged holding a ring of keys.
I can guess.
She brushed past me on her way out of the dormitory. The superior and I followed. Eustace stood in front of the library door, squinting at the keyring and shuffling them back and forth. The way the keys splayed out in her hand reminded me of Adela's tarot cards.
It's much too big.
Excuse me?
The boat. Flora is very small.
I think Moira said we just need something sturdy to hold her leg together. I said this faster than I could think about the mechanics of what I was suggesting. As I imagined watching two pieces of bone falling into place, I retched. Mercifully, nothing came with it. Do I Foley work the? Yeah, I can do it for you. Just for you.
Have you broken a bone?
Yeah,
yes,
several
you broke
times.
a bone. Okay. I keep on forgetting who I know who
Not
hasn't
very
broken bones.
recently. But when I was a kid, yeah, for sure.
I've only broken bones for stupid reasons.
To be fair, so did I.
I think mine were stupider.
It's not a competition. The door opened, and Eustace almost shot inside faster than the superior's candlelight could illuminate the room.
You wait there.
I beg your pardon?
Eustace ignored her, too focused on her keys again to notice the superior's warning tone. She disappeared into the artifact room. The superior and I waited in silence for a moment.
Do you think she's got a soul ring in there?
Oh, artifact. Took me a moment. Yeah, everybody has a soul ring these days.
Maybe an unwinding clock?
Man, remember when it was only the cool people had a soul ring? I do. I remember those days. There was suddenly a crash of metal on stone.
Is everything all right in there?
Yes. Yes. One moment.
Do you need any light?
Eustace reappeared holding two cylindrical pieces of metal. She handed them to me forcefully and then darted back out of the candlelight once more.
Is there something else you need? Eustace?
Already gone.
Eustace's voice was distant, no doubt buffeted by bookshelves.
No, I'm just checking something I remembered needed doing while I'm here.
Ah, her system at work.
That's right. Can take that to Flora. I'll be right behind you.
What's Eustace got going on? She doesn't want this. She doesn't want Super Mommy in the artifact room.
She's been very cagey about the artifact room before, yeah.
And she wanted to go back in after this for some reason that she doesn't want to say why.
Did she go back in there or did she go off
or go
somewhere
else? What is up? It doesn't seem like just a system. She does.
Then darted back out of the candlelight once more, so it's unclear where she went. Her system at work. What is her system?
We've heard about that, right? She's got a system for organizing stuff.
So when she takes those two things, does she have like a list or something of things that go in and out and she has to keep it up to date?
I don't know.
I don't know. I looked down at the pieces of armor Eustace had thrust into my hands. They were a lot smaller than I had been imagining. Are these the right pieces? These aren't leg plates, are they?
They're the Vam braces. Should be better for a girl Flora's size. Run ahead and take him to her.
That seems wise. Flora's legs are decidedly smaller than a man of war's.
True.
But
Eustace suddenly emerged out of the darkness looking harried and annoyed.
why are you still here? I said I'd be right behind you.
Eustace practically sprinted out of the library and onto the landing, beckoning for us to follow her with an impatient wave. Oh, she really did just have a small thing to do.
Time is of the essence, surely.
Of course.
Hold on, I'm looking up what the word vambrace means.
Learning some good armor terms.
I refuse to read the AI overview. Van braces, sometimes known as lower cannons in the Middle Ages, or forearm guards, are tubular or gutter defenses for the forearm worn as part of a suit of plate armor that were often connected to gauntlets. Oh, okay. Interesting. And from the ones I'm seeing, it looks like they kind of go on the upper shoulder, and from the shoulder to around the upper arm. Yeah, and of course, being for an arm, they would be thinner than the leg ones. So that makes sense for Flora.
I nodded, not wanting to cause any trouble. But I did crane my neck to try and catch a glimpse of the side room Eustace had retrieved the armor from before the candlelight subsided. The door was shut, of course. When we returned to the Superior's office, Moira was crouched next to Flora, holding her hand. I was relieved to see that things had somewhat improved in our absence. I've been dreading the worst in the back of my mind.
Took you long enough.
You are so verbose for someone who is probably losing blood. Some of Flora's old spirit was returning then.
Those are...
Arm pieces, yes. Thought it might be a better fit.
Oh, well.
She took the piece of armor from Eustace and appraised them.
Definitely a good fit circumference-wise, but too short.
Huh.
Oh, dear. It was good thinking, but if you could go and retrieve the leg instead.
We can reshape them.
Reshape?
We can heat them up and bash them together in a bit. Yeah, I think that should work. We have a workshop.
Of course we do, but that is a tall order. You know how to do that, Eustace?
Well, no, I don't. Not in practice, but I know the principles. It should be rather simple. The Superior pinched the bridge of her nose.
This night is getting out of hand. Do we have the tools to do it? Would the boot not be simpler?
We would have to do this to the boot, too. In fact, it'd probably require more reshaping. Do we want to do this, or do we want Flora to lose her leg?
I don't know. Let's try it.
I'm torn between, is Eustace being reasonable here, or is there something else she doesn't want people to see in there? Because she does bring up a very good point, which is that, it's like the boot is going to be too big for Flora, who is a young, very thin girl, 20s, right? Right, like that's she's not gonna. But is it gonna be easier to reshape the van brace than it is the thing already designed for it, right? Well,
Eustace, this is...
It'll be simple!
Let's try it. We have to consider that this armor isn't ours, you know. We've been entrusted it.
What does it matter?
everyone looked my way.
If there's something we can do, we should do it. Even if it is just a hunch. I cannot believe we'd even consider otherwise. No? Am I wrong?
Of course you're not wrong. Forgive me, Flora. We'll try everything we can. Thank God. What do we need to do?
Carry her to the workshop, first of all. We'll need to start a fire, find some tools, a hammer.
Hedwig, will you help me carry her?
Yes, of course. I was not sure that I had much more strength left, but I couldn't possibly say no. I think we're gonna need a lot of fuel.
It sounds like this is going to be an ordeal. Shall I wake the others?
Yes. Or rather, no, let me do that. You help these two. The superior looked affronted by this direct order, but did not object. Welp, see you all there. She jogged out of the office. Moira and I made to carry Flora while the superior held the heavy door open for us.
Rather bossy sometimes, isn't she? Nobody could replace you, Superior. Superior Eustace, I'd kill myself.
Flora!
Careful, you'll drop her. I was only joking.
Sorry.
I'm surprised at how verbose Flora has been during this whole thing, but I guess they can't let her fall asleep, right? So, sorry for the periodic coffee breaks, but gotta keep that whistle wet. I've gotten used to not narrating all the time after you took over duties on Mamiya for a while. So.
I, on the other hand, never got used to narrating all the time. That shit gave me a sore throat all the time.
I gotta get back in it.
After we made it out of the doorway, the Superior moved past us and began to lead us through the cloister, out toward the courtyard. We were close to where we had prepared to ride down to the village. She opened a rotted wooden door to the side of the archway's gatehouse that I had not entered yet. It was pitch dark, save for the Superior's candlelight, until she held the flame up to a few sconces around the room. And after doing so, she was able to find the which would, when drafted...
Wow, spoilers.
It's not. That is the least. Moving along.
As the torches flickered to life, the light revealed gnarled metal tools and bits of broken furniture scattered around the workshop. The floor was covered in sawdust and ash. Chains and hooks were hanging from the ceiling, no doubt farming implements that I was too sheltered to recognize.
Oh yeah? A workshop full of chains and hooks and gnarled metal tools
Wow.
that folks don't normally go in?
Wow.
Huh.
That seems fun.
Set her down somewhere flat.
Moira and I shuffled around into the room, carrying Flora between us. In the center of the room was a cylindrical stone structure with a wooden cover. It would have to do for now. We set Flora down gently as we could. She winced as her legs settled on the wooden surface.
Is she bleeding?
I actually don't know.
Don't think so.
Moira hiked up Flora's robe without warning. I nearly fainted at the sight.
Ooh, that's gnarly.
Yeah.
There was not much blood, miraculously, but that might have made it all the more grisly. Her calf was swollen, turned the wrong way, and purple. There was a large bump, and... I could gloss over this part, I suppose, but it feels wrong. I saw it, after all. Don't worry, it won't last much longer. It was not good to look at. I drew in a sharp breath and turned away. Moira, however, wasted no time in assessing the injury.
Not good. We might need to drain it before we do anything else. Drain? Blood's supposed to stay inside. Not all welled up in your calves, it isn't.
Flora let out a guttural groan. Despair was sinking in.
Don't. It's fine. It'll heal up on its own. It most certainly will not. Should I go and get more help?
That might be a good idea. Eustace had been marching around the room, surveying the tools on offer. You see this? This here's my butchering knife.
Oh wait, hold on, get that out of the way. Oh, it doesn't capture the cursor, right? Never mind. Oh, it's not capturing the cursor, but you should know the cursor is a ornate cross for when it's in this game. Oh, that's a good.
I think this would make a good Fleam.
The fuck is a Fleam?
A great word.
That is a great. It's got so many consonants in it.
I think Fleam was that one guy in season 3 of Fantasy High.
Wasn't Fleam in the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah.
A fleam, also phlegm, flu, fleam, or fleam, was a handheld instrument used for bloodletting. Got it. Okay. Yeah, understood.
I want my blood to get let.
I mean, given what she knows at the time, Flora is probably right. Right? Like, in this moment, I'm not... I trust that she, while maybe not correct by modern sciences, is probably appraised of what the best practices are at that time. Right?
She held up a long saw with an orange-flecked teeth. Flora let out a half laugh, half hiccup.
Fuck off. If you want to make yourself useful, Eustace, go wake everybody up and have Darcy bring my tool bag, please. It should be under my bed. And ask her to bring any dwales she might have lying around.
God damn it, we're gonna look up so many fucking words.
That's how you know it's a good game, because you have to play it with the dictionary.
You have to play it with the dictionary open.
Yeah. And a normal dictionary won't do it. You need special words.
Dwale is an anesthetic potion used in medieval medicine.
Oh, what's in it? I need to know.
Throughout 1200, 1500 AD in England, a potion called Dwale was used as an anesthetic. This alcohol-based mixture contained bile, opium, lettuce, birony, henbane, hemlock, and vinegar.
Woohoo! Really just dosing them up with everything and hoping it sticks.
Hey, whatever. I mean, yeah. Surgeons roused their patients by rubbing vinegar and salt on their cheekbones. Well, that's gross.
Eustace opened her mouth to protest, but Moira shot her a grim look that I wouldn't have thought her capable of. Of course. On it. Sorry.
The impression I'm getting is that Eustace is kind of used to be taken seriously in matters where she is the one who is knowledgeable.
Yep.
And she believes herself to be the knowledgeable one about what would, if we're using a suit of armor for this, what the best option is, right? And doesn't like being questioned on that. However, that also turns around and she's like, oh, Moira is right. Moira's the one who knows about this. I shouldn't be questioning this. And then when challenged does indeed back off and like, right, you're right.
She bustled out of the workshop quickly.
Hedwig, could you run to the kitchen and find me the biggest bowl you can?
A bowl?
So the blood has somewhere to go, silly. Good heavens. Hurry!
I scampered out the door and ran toward the kitchens. The rain had lessened somewhat since I had been up on the wall, but it was getting quite cold in my damp robes. I was shivering by the time I made it to the kitchen door and fumbled my way inside. Bowl. Squinted to try and get a better look at the cooking implements around the room. The moonlight was enough to see outside, but here it was frustratingly dark. I should have brought one of the torches the Superior had lit in the workshop. Finally, I spotted it. A big wooden bowl poking out of a shelf. The one Eustace had served us gay lead out of.
Happy Pride, y'all.
We were gonna make gay lead at some point. We should do that still.
Yeah.
We should do that when we eventually do the Volume 2 discussion. That'd be a...
I just knew Eustace would have something to say about me selecting the same bowl, but there was no time left to agonize over it. I stepped forward and... Sharp claws swiped at my wrist. I yelped and tumbled forward into the shelf. My forehead knocked against a pan handle on my way down, bringing the whole shelf of cookware down on top of me. I lay on the cold floor for a minute, feeling more embarrassed than injured. The cat that had lunged at me stepped forward on its little paws and nuzzled my face as if we were the best of friends.
Hello, you.
The little teeth.
Little teeth. Little teeth!
I suppose I had just startled it, or perhaps its moods were as erratic as mine had been of late. I'm all right. I just need a moment.
The stone floor was oddly comforting. I was reminded of the times I had, for a change of pace, laid down on the cold floor of my cell. Most recently, I'd flattened into this position to reach for a brush to wipe up a pile of my own dark sick. But there had been happier times where I had simply pressed myself against the cold floor. Can you keep a secret? This is most mortifying to admit, but sometimes, when I finished my work I had set out for myself, I would disrobe entirely and lay face down on the stone tile. It felt refreshing. During the hot summer months especially, the stone would retain some of that natural chill it always has, and I would try to absorb it all through my skin. And when I had taken in it all, and the floor had warmed up, I would roll sideways onto my back and do it all over again. It was such an odd sensation. What? I can hear you giggling, you know. And here I was thinking I could trust you to be mature. No, you are right. It is rather, strange. But I'd rather talk about something pleasant and odd than blood. Which we're about to see a lot of, by the way, so do prepare yourself. The cat meowed at me again.
Very well. Suppose I can't spend all night down here, can I?
I pulled myself to my feet. The bowl had come to rest on my head like some bulbous wooden crown, and still more cookware clattered to the floor as I stood. I had left a real mess, but there was no time to waste. I took the bowl and sprinted out of the kitchens back toward the workshop. I arrived to quite the commotion.
Someone had started playing the Amen break.
Yeah, you're right. The whole abbey was attempting to cram into the workshop. Angela and Charity were standing on the threshold, looking inside pensively. Angela locked eyes with me as I jogged up to the doorway with the bowl. I tried to avoid her, but it was no use.
They had been waiting for you.
I couldn't find one big enough.
I can see that. I'm not sure that is big enough.
I ignored this and pushed through the doorway. Everyone had crowded around Moira, who had draped Flora over a table. I took some comfort in how rattled most of the other women here seemed. At the very least, I was not the only person who had a hard time looking at Flora's injury.
This was the biggest I could find.
That'll do. Thank you.
As I handed the bowl to Moira, I could see Eustace open her mouth in protest, then shake her head.
Should I get a different one?
No.
No. There's no time.
Is this yours? We'll wash it.
Oh, good. Because I was thinking you wouldn't.
Moira was already thumbing through a leather bag full of sharp-looking tools.
Let's see. Lancet, lancet, lancet.
I feel like I should know what a lancet is, but I don't.
You should. It's the name of the the big fancy British medical journal.
That's the lancet. What is a lancet?
Named after a lancet.
I see.
It's for lancing.
That's so helpful, actually. I am looking at Google results, and it just gives me reviews for the journal.
You ever had to get something lanced?
A small, broad, two-edged surgical knife or blade with a sharp point. Cool. Have I ever had to get something lanced? No, I have not.
Good.
I beat the Elite Four my first try.
Eustace, hold her shoulders steady, would you?
Eustace obliged. Flora looked like she wished to protest, but her energy was fading.
Now, Hedwig, I need you to hold that bowl steady while I drain the wounds. Can you do that for me?
I think someone else might do a better job.
We don't have time to bicker about it. Nobody wants to, but somebody has to, and you're here with it in your hands. Shall we?
Yes.
Moira beamed at me, then rummaged in her bag for a wooden stick.
Moira beam.
She does that a lot, doesn't she?
Yep.
She held it close to Flora's face. Reminded me of the way Darcy had held up bits of grass to watch the sheep eat.
Bite down on this for me, please. It'll help with the pain.
It won't help the pain, but it'll give you something to do to kind of work it out, right?
Are we out of dwell, Darcy?
Yes.
Oh.
Please don't say oh like that.
Moira took this opportunity to stick the wooden bit into Flora's mouth.
There you go.
Tears were welling up in Flora's puffy eyes.
Hedwig, the bowl.
Of course.
I got down on one knee and propped the lip of the bowl under Flora's leg. I was trying my best not to look at her bulging ankle too closely. I must have aimed poorly because I could feel Moira repositioning the bowl as soon as I had set it down.
Good. I'm going to do this as fast as I can so the pain doesn't drag on. Does that sound good?
This was met with an indecipherable moan from Flora. Thank you.
You've broken this leg before, haven't you? It will be all right.
How do you know that?
You're strong. As soon as I'm satisfied with how it's drained, I need someone to bandage the wound. Margaret, can you do the honors?
She retched a little.
I don't think I'm the woman for the job, sorry. Someone else, then. No time to hesitate, come on. I will do it.
Angela definitely seems like...
Adela.
Did I say Angela?
Yeah.
Adela definitely seems like she would be like... She would have enough no-nonsense about this kind of thing, right? She fancies herself a warrior, right? I feel like this just someone who carries herself like she does, then being able to deal with this would be a matter of pride.
It's basically just stabbing, but in reverse.
There you go. Reverse stabbing. Adela stepped forward, looking stern and determined. Moira gave her an approving nod and handed her some white fabric from her doctor's bag.
Are you ready? I am ready. Hedwig?
Ready.
I'm going to count down from 5. 5, 4, 3.
I heard a muffled shriek as the sound of liquid running down the side of the bowl I was holding. I bit the inside of my cheek and gripped the sides of the bowl as hard as I could. I didn't want to disappoint Moira, and I certainly didn't want to hurt Flora's chances at recovery. I wanted to help, as ghastly as the process was. Flora spat the bit out of her mouth.
You went early. Oh, old doctor's trick. Sorry about that. The anticipation is the worst part. No, it's not.
I admit, I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to these things. I also, even when I'm just getting, stuck with a needle for, vax or taking blood or stuff, I don't like it. The anticipation does kind of suck, even if the thing itself is just fine. I proudly am the kind of person who just you do what you gotta do. I'm gonna look over here and not engage until you're done.
Needles suck for me as well, but it's not the anticipation. It's very much seeing the blood.
Yeah. I don't know. I see the blood in the little vials afterward, and I'm like, eh.
I see the blood in the little vials afterwards and start to get tunnel vision, and I'm like, oh no.
That's different. Because that's very interesting, because for me, I think part of my brain doesn't recognize that it's mine. You know what I mean? Because I look at it and I don't feel any particular way. I'm just like, oh, there's a vial full of blood over there, I guess. That's where that's meant to be. I don't think my brain is quite properly registering that, oh, that came out of your body, bucko.
And they never give me any back.
Just go to the blood bank.
Yeah.
And take a withdrawal. Have you set up an account at the blood bank?
Earning blood interest.
Blood stopped pouring into the bowl. I could see that Adela was wrapping the leg in the bandages Moira had provided.
Moira, this bone. If I wrap the bandage tightly, it will... That's right. Now is the hard part, I'm afraid. But you're doing so well, Flora. There's more. Lots more. Adela, this is going to be grim work, but just imagine that Flora is, I don't know, your fellow man on the battlefield. You're going to have to get the leg back into the right position so the bone can heal back together. I can do it.
Face of someone who can definitely do it.
Do not worry about me.
I had never seen Adela sweat like this. Wet hair was poking out from underneath her cap as she and Moira guided the bandage around Flora's leg. I walked around stupidly holding the bowl of blood, unsure where to put it. Honestly, a little funny.
Gets nervous, absentmindedly takes a sip.
This is the premise of a 1400s team gross-out comedy.
God, I want that now. Actually, I think what I want is Scrubs, but it's set in the infirmary of a 14th century monastery.
That would be very funny, actually. I could hear a real commotion behind me that I was very glad I couldn't see.
Ah, Flora, do not kick. You're going to make it worse. I'm not trying to. Someone hold her legs down, please. The last thing I need is Flora kicking her whole foot off.
Everyone gave me a wide berth as I carried the bowl to a table at the side of the room and set it down gently as I could. I hunched over it for a moment. The wailing and moaning and gnashing playing out behind me was too much to bear. However, I steeled myself, reasoning that nobody needed to deal with me adding more disgusting bodily fluids for them to clean up. I scrunched my eyes shut for a moment and tried to push the sounds of surgery out of my mind.
The Sounds of Surgery sounds like the name of a sick-ass Carcass album.
Sounds with Surgery is a Nurse with Wound album, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Said by someone who has listened to at most one Nurse with Wound album. I felt a hand on my soldier. I felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to see Margaret, looking a little worse for the wear.
Me too. Oh God, is that the blood? Let's go over here.
Maybe that was what was setting Margaret off. Maybe the casks kind of looked like blood, and she might just have an aversion to blood, or maybe it's poking at some particular memory. I don't know. I don't think an inherent aversion to looking at blood necessarily needs a deeper justification. You know what I mean? There could be a history there, but I think it can also just be like, yeah, that's just how she is, and that's fine. Yeah. I won't question you on it. She pulled me aside into the corner of the room.
This is a little rougher than last time.
Okay, I was wondering about last time because Flora had broken that leg before.
Last time?
When she broke her leg climbing the wall. That still wasn't pretty to look at, but this... What happened?
I heard a sound in the middle of the night and I found her.
Thank goodness for that, at least. Was her leg already broken?
No, but it all happened so fast. It was that door.
The big one that never closes properly?
Yes.
Goodness. I suppose it can actually close properly then.
I was not sure if this was meant to be a joke or not.
I'm relieved you found her. Good work, Hedwig.
Thank you.
Did she tell you what she was doing, where she'd been?
Not a word.
Because remember, if you from the end of Volume 1, I don't think we said this explicitly aloud. Flora had been missing, right? After the at the end of Volume 1, there had been the wake for Catherine in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Flora had I think Marta slapped her or something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Flora had left the wake early. And then the next day she was nowhere to be found, and everyone split up and tried to find her. And Hedwig, and the thing that's gone unsaid through all this is that Hedwig is the first one to have found her.
Mm-hmm.
And when she found her, her leg was broken.
It wasn't broken when she found her.
Well, right. Well, from all the other nuns, right? They see, oh, you found Flora. Oh, Flora's leg is broken. This is the first time anyone besides Hedwig has seen Flora in about a day.
Yep.
So.
Not a word. I heard a sound and I found her and then...
Bang. Door gets her on the way out. I understand.
I was panicking inside. This was, strictly speaking, not a lie, but
I was omitting a rather large detail. I could justify this to myself somewhat. The ghost was Flora's story to tell. However, I realized as soon as I confirmed Margaret's order of events that Flora and I heading outside to the wall was a rather strange path to take.
Her and Catherine used to walk the walls, talking about this and that, so she was probably hoping to do the same with you. That's good. I was so worried when she was missing that we weren't doing enough for her, but hopefully this is all one big misunderstanding. Keep the drawing lessons up, yeah? She'll need it after this.
Of course.
Right, that should just about do it for the bandages. Now then, time to make a splint.
We'll need to move Flora, I think.
Ah.
She looked around with a furrowed brow, then pointed next to me and Margaret.
Wheelbarrow.
No, you can't do it. That's the Linbarrow wheelbarrow. Without it, it would just be Lynn. There was indeed a wooden contraption next to us. A wooden box with 2 handles and a precarious-looking wheel attached to it. Margaret extracted it from the other garden tools it was buried under and rolled it back into the crowd. So it looks like half shop, half storage area for gardening tools. But there is also a gardening shed. We saw Eustace and Darcy there, so... I'm guessing this is a room that just doesn't see much use and a lot of crap tends to accumulate.
As happens.
Eustace and Margaret lifted a whimpering Flora into the barrow carefully, with Adela and Moira supporting her leg. After she was deposited into it as safely as she could be, Eustace retrieved the vambraces and held them up for all to see.
So, I have an idea that I need everyone to take seriously. And I will likely need everyone's help to execute.
I have not done this voice in several months. Oh my gosh. It won't be hard to get back after I get back into it, but in the meantime, it's a little scratchy. There was a murmur of approval from the gathered nuns.
I need you all to help me get a fire going in the forge.
I could sense every eyebrow in the room raising.
Who was Martha? Was that I?
Yeah.
That old bloomery.
I mean, I can take over Marta if you'd like.
I just couldn't remember. I can't remember the last time that thing got used. That's how you know it's been a long time. Indeed, it hasn't been fired since before I was the superior.
Well, that's not entirely true.
Eustace and Independence Day.
That's not entirely accurate. Catherine with a C used it a handful of times.
Really now? It is true, I helped her, in fact.
Excellent. In that case, Adela, I need you to help me direct people. To do this fast, we're going to need a steady supply of fuel going in. Then we'll need someone on the bellows, and we'll need 2 of us on the hammers.
She hoisted up a blunt tool. Tool.
What in God's name do we need all of this for?
To make a proper splint for Flora's leg.
Will that work?
It has a better chance of helping than doing nothing at all.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I suppose I could help pass firewood.
Marta seems a little kinda guilty.
Good.
Because remember, there was that altercation between Marta and Flora.
Yep.
And then I think Flora left, and I think Marta and Charity went after. So, I don't know. I think maybe Marta has something she might not feel good about. Everyone began arranging themselves around the workshop. I was surprised and suddenly felt very out of step with them. Things fell into place almost wordlessly, but I had clearly not been here long enough to understand where I fit in the natural order.
Hedwig, saw you swinging that sword in the Misericorde. Can I put you on hammer duty? Let me rephrase that. You are on hammer duty.
She held out a hammer for me handle first.
Swole Hedwig confirmed.
I could only oblige. It was much heavier than the sword had been, and it balanced very differently. But after carrying it for a moment, I felt decent enough sense of what to do with it.
Adela, you'll take the other one.
Absolutely.
I took a glance down at Flora. Looked as if she was struggling to stay awake. Moira was in charge of the wheelbarrow and kept fussing with her patient's bandage.
Once the fire is as hot as we can make it, I'm going to put the bracers in. Then I will put them in the middle here, open them, and overlap the edges. That's when you'll bash them as hard as you can, as fast as you can. Rhythmically, please, until I put the bracers back in the fire. Do you understand?
I do.
I was very glad she did, at least. Anyway, who's ready for the minigame?
Smithery quick time events.
Smithery quick time event with someone's leg on the line.
Practice. Adela hits first, then Hedwig.
Adela smashed her hammer against the oak panel and then retracted it as fast as she could. I tried to follow suit, but my strike came out much slower.
Again.
A little faster that time. Faster! I got into the flow of it. Adela and I beat our invisible foe into a pulp with the startling efficiency, and our hammerheads striking one after the other. Metallurgy is the... Oh, I haven't checked yet if there's a new soundtrack album for Volume. There is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you told me there was, actually.
For Volume 2?
Some time ago.
Oh, well...
I might be wrong, because I'm remembering this only because I thought I remembered you saying it.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I know what I'm picking up later today.
Good. Let's get to work.
The others had been working on bringing the fire up to heat behind us, passing bits of firewood in a line from a pile on the other side of the room.
I lied. There isn't a Volume 2 soundtrack out yet. I don't know why I misremembered you saying that.
Oh, unfortunate. I wonder if it's because there's not 6 more hours of music.
Oh, almost assuredly.
Oh, I can't wait. If you haven't, the soundtrack for Volume 1 is out. It has been out for a while, and it's absurd amount of music for what you pay for it.
And it's all good.
And it's all good. I suppose there was something important putting fuel in steadily. Personally, I would have just crammed as much wood into the forge as I could fit, but I suppose that's why I was a nun and not a blacksmith. Eustace thrust the van braces into the small slotted fireplace. Darcy pushed on a wooden handle attached to a strange bag that blew air into the furnace. Flames whipped up around inside. How would you not notice this going? There's going to be smoke.
The Superior may not be as on top of things as she thinks she is.
Ah, understood. Eustace leaned back to avoid getting singed. I could see the metal braces turning red. After a few more squeezes of air, Eustace plucked them out of the fire with her large tongs and flung them in front of Adela and I. Gingerly, Eustace overlapped the 2 pieces of armor so we could bash them together.
This side!
We scrambled around the stone circle to get a better angle, then began slamming our hammers down on the other lip of the mismatched armor pieces. Eustace yanked them away from us suddenly. Adela noticed in time and retracted her hammer, but I was slower on the uptake. I smashed my hammer into the wood and felt as if I had missed a stair when it didn't connect with metal. Bounced back in such a way that it surprised me, and the handle bending my thumb at an awkward angle. Ow!
Get ready!
No mercy. I suppose I wouldn't have offered any either. I compared my smarting thumb to Flora's snapped leg and pushed through the pain. We repeated the process over and over. I can't recall how many times. The whole convent operated as efficiently as it could to keep the fire going. Angela and the Superior joined Marta, Charity, Catherine, and Margaret on the fuel line, while Darcy managed the bellows. This? I mean, in a certain way, like, the soup is like... I guess the soup feels bad that she's not directing everything, but, like, you've got nuns who know how to listen to each other when shit gets bad. And know how to fall in line and do what's asked of them. And so, like, as long as the Superior understands who to defer to in these kinds of situations, you've got a great set of people working, right? I guess maybe it rubs her the wrong way that she's not the one calling the shots, but
Yep.
this ain't her area of expertise. Why should you call the shots? You should be happy you have someone who knows what they're doing and defer to them. Eustace moved the armor between the bloomery and our makeshift anvil, where me and Adela would pound away at the white, hot metal. I don't know how many rotations we went through before I noticed that it might actually be working. Took many more after that for Eustace to be satisfied with our handiwork. All seemed to be going well until Eustace frowned. Water! We need water!
First she wants fire, now she wants water.
We need to dunk this in some water.
Moira bolted out of the room faster than I'd ever seen her move. Eustace put the van braces back in the fire.
Good work, everyone.
Don't mention it.
I didn't say to stop.
Moira sprinted back into the room carrying a bucket of water. I was worried that it was going to all slosh out by the time she made it to Eustace, but thankfully it seemed to still hold enough when she arrived. Eustace pried our makeshift splint out of the forge and pushed it into the bucket. Steam billowed out suddenly, filling the whole room with a smell not unlike the blood I had collected in the wooden bowl. Panting heavily, Eustace fished around in the bucket with her tongs. The look of triumph on her face, she let out the metal bracers fall into the now dangerously dented well cover with a thud. It had worked.
Thank God.
We did it.
Adela let out what I could only describe as a battle cry, holding her hammer aloft. The energy was infectious. Everyone I could see cheered and clapped as Moira tested the armor on Flora's leg. With a little work, it fit.
Incredible. How does it feel, Flora?
Nearly everyone chuckled. Poor thing. She needs some rest now, I'd imagine.
Indeed.
I couldn't help but notice that Angela had not been laughing in relief along with everyone else. Predictably, she could not let this triumphant moment pass without interjection.
What happened, Flora?
Come off it, Angela. Not now.
Then when?
I don't know. Later, she's safe. That's all that matters right now.
I disagree.
Enough. It is late and we've worked harder than I think any of us have in our lives to make sure Flora was safe and cared for. I am relieved Flora is still with us. Whatever happened, happened. We can deal with the particulars another time. I am going to bed, and you all should as well. I said enough. That is enough for now. I declare Jubilee. I trust Moira can take care of Flora from here. Of course, Superior. Thank you. And thank you all for your help. Yeah, thanks, you lot.
The Superior wiped her brow and walked toward the workshop door.
I really think... Jubilee.
She turned on her heel and left us in the workshop. Angela looked angrier than I had ever seen her, which should tell you something. The rest of the sisters gathered around Flora to profess their well wishes. The embers were tended to, and the glow of the forge lessened. I fell to my knees, feeling exhausted. Sweat cascaded off of my brow and down my nose. There was still a cloud of steam hanging around the whole room. The crowd moved out of the workshop as Moira wheeled Flora, still on the barrow, out into the courtyard.
Are you feeling well, Hedwig?
Yes, I just needed a moment to catch my breath.
More than fair. You really saved the day, you know. I don't think I could have done all that hammering.
Thank you.
Everyone filed out of the workshop. Everyone except for Angela. For a moment, she said nothing. However, after a pause, I heard an almighty crash, along with a ragged yell.
Angela?
Oh, Hedwig.
I thought you had left with the rest.
Not yet. Just down here recuperating.
I see.
I hoisted myself to my feet and my eyes went wide. Angela had heaved the hammer Adela had been using at the wall, where it had lodged in the wooden slats and knocked over several other tools that had littered the side tables. Oh, hold on. I think I know why Angela wanted it to be now. Because if it's now, no one has time to get their story straight.
Oh, yep.
I think maybe if she had explained that to the superior, rather than trying to, be like, hey, 2 seconds, that might have helped. But now, because it's going to be another evening, and people know what the score is, they'll be able to get their stories together.
Yep.
Right? I don't know if that's going to include being able to cow Flora, right? Because presumably if they were trying to sell a story, they'd have to make Flora do it as well. But Flora has been well and truly, if they were threatening Flora has been well and truly threatened. So maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes of this.
What did you do that for?
A moment of weakness, I regret. But I am just so... We just wasted so much time. Who suggested all this?
Eustace, if I recall correctly?
A serial overthinker commanding a battalion of underthinkers.
Don't say that! We saved Flora's leg!
You don't know that.
We certainly tried our damnedest.
Wait, Flora... Hedwig wouldn't say that. Hold on.
Well, we certainly tried.
Do you know what a splint is, Hedwig?
She began prowling around the room in a primal manner. She picked up a broken bit of wood and jerked it toward me.
No one could see what you just did, but you can imagine what hand motion was just made.
This could be a splint. Or this.
She tossed the wood aside and picked up a metal rod.
This could be a splint. Anything in here could be a splint. You tie something sturdy around a broken bone to hold it in place. That's a splint. But no, that's not good enough for Linbarrow. Why, the sharpest minds in the country reside here. No, not in Westminster, not in Gosford or Rievaulx or Lindisfarne. They're all here in Linbarrow, wasting God knows how many hours reinventing the very concept of the fucking splint.
She jammed the metal implement back on the table in a huff.
What happened to Flora?
I don't know. I just found her wandering the...
Don't lie to me, Hedwig. Whoever it is you are protecting by hiding the truth, it cannot be worth it. Flora went missing at a very strange time after a very strange little party you were in attendance for. I know that you know something that you aren't telling me.
You're right, Angela. I do. But I must apologize. I cannot tell you just yet. I would be happy to when I know that I can safely, but...
Safely? Listen to yourself.
Without endangering my relationship with Flora! Angela, she trusts me. I would trust you too, but Flora made me promise to let her tell her own story first. I was not lying. Do you think I was lying? I may have embellished Flora's lucidity, but I was confident that what she had meant when she had gripped my robe and begged me not to tell.
Hedwig, you mean well, and I might even admire you for this attempt at being honorable. But we are far beyond anything honor can help us with. Hiding things from me isn't going to help Flora now.
Just doesn't feel right to speak on her behalf.
Answer me this. Is she in danger? Either she was the victim of some crime or she has fallen to crime herself. Was she taken or did she hide of her own accord? Did something happen to her? James is imprisoned, yet...
Nothing beyond what you saw tonight. That big door on the second floor caught her leg as we were walking through it.
And where was she before that?
You'll have to ask her, Angela. Please. Don't make me break any more promises. Angela sighed and wiped her brow of sweat.
May I ask just one more question?
You may, although I cannot promise you an answer.
Are we in danger?
I looked into her eyes and was shocked by her expression. She looked angry, tired, shrewd, and beneath it all, frightened.
I considered the ghost. The way it had loomed in the doorway, the way its dead eyes had stared past me into depths I could barely see myself. Yes. Yes, I think we are. She sighed deeply.
Then the pact I offered you is more important than ever. Please do not keep me in the dark, Hedwig. If I am brusque, it is because I take all this very seriously, not because I'm an enemy.
I actually believe her when she says that, weirdly enough. She looked pathetic. Whether or not it was the most efficient thing or the best thing, it was a good thing. Good night, Angela. I turned to leave the workshop. I'm ashamed to confess that I was fueled by a dark sense of satisfaction.
Well, shit.
A day off. And that's where we'll end this episode. Hey, how are we feeling? Are we feeling good?
I'm stoked.
Are we ready to be back on Hedwig's fun ride of whimsy and possibly lies?
I am ready for Game of the Year 2025.
Game of the Year 2025.
Yeah.
Wow, bold words for having played exactly an hour and 36 minutes of this. Still, hey, I hope you all enjoyed this. We'll be back with more as soon. 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Or a goat's tail.
Or goat's tail.
We're not sure which ones they're keeping.
I didn't say this at the top of the episode, but I'll say it now just, because we've got a good audience. You're all good about this. Don't post spoilers past where we are in the comments section, right? If you do need to talk about something that hasn't happened yet or something that hasn't come up on screen, please use Rot13. I know you're all good about this, but I feel I just remind everyone. Just not everyone's experiencing the mystery at the same pace, and we want to give everyone that chance to have that same feeling, right?
Yep.
So, thank you all for abiding by that. We'll see you all next time. And, yeah, it is kind of funny that they could have just used a metal split.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.